Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. Thank you for joining us. I'm Bob Pompeani. We have a lot to get into tonight, and most of it, if not all of it, is going to be about the NFL, specifically the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are one game out of first place. How are they doing it? Here to discuss on our #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is your panel. We have Will Graves from the Associated Press. Far left, in the middle is Mark Kaboly from The Athletic and Mr. Chris Mack from 93.7 The Fan, and he does a great job with the "Oh Mama."
Keep singing.
Shout out for that. Looking back at one of the best Steeler defenses of all time. All right, Mark, I want to start with you on this one now. Here they are, 6-3, first team ever to be outgained in every single one of their games, and 6-3. I go back to the 11-0 season when people were wondering what this team was. They were undefeated, but then it fell apart. What is this team right now? Are they capable of winning a division and moving forward into the playoffs?
I think they're capable of winning the division. 6 wins are 6 wins. There's only 4 other teams in the league that have more wins than the Steelers right now. But that 11, that was at 2000, 2001, that 11-0 team, you saw that was flawed from right away. You knew that team wasn't going to be a team that was going to get into the playoffs and make a run. This team seems like it's getting better and better. They found maybe their niche with their offensive line. They're running the ball well. They're continuing to play defense. I think they can win the division, sure, but I don't think it's a team that can go far in the playoffs right now. I mean, there's still too many issues there.
If they win their division, why wouldn't they? They'll be at home for one game.
How's that worked out the last few times?
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're willing to say they can win a division.
All these little things that go right for these past 6 wins, all you need is one thing to go wrong, and you're out of the playoffs. And that's the thing you have to worry about.
And all they need is one of those things to go wrong, and they don't get a win. And what? They've got 3 wins that should be penciled in right now, left on the schedule: Arizona, New England, and India.
Arizona had Kyler Murray today. Looked pretty good.
But I guess my point is there's still at least 4 wins left out there on the schedule, I would think.
10 wins get you in, right?
And 10 gets you in, right. I don't know if they challenge for the division. I think that'll, we may have to wait until the last week of the season to figure that out, if they can win the division or not. But they should be a playoff team, which is insane to think given the inconsistency they've gotten both in the run game to start the year, now the quarterback play, even though the run game has come around. They have yet to have a really fully fleshed out, fully formed offense. If that were to actually happen, then yeah, I think Mark's got a point. They can win a division, and maybe they, to your point, Pomp, could win a game.
I mean, Mark you said better and better. I mean, is the quarterback getting better and better?
No.
I mean, look, considering Jair Alexander didn't play today, they had a 7th-round guy and like a practice squad guy, and they could get nothing downfield.
They didn't even try.
He missed guys. I mean, there was a play in the 3rd quarter where Deontay Johnson, they had press man coverage, had 2 steps on him. They were about it was before one of the field goals. He had by 2 steps. Kenny didn't see him. He threw a check down that was incomplete. He's not getting better. He's not getting worse. He's not costing them games by throwing picks, but he's not getting better. And look, when you see guys like, Josh Dobbs has been in Minnesota 5 seconds, and his numbers look like he's been there for 5 years.
2 wins.
Kenny,
without Justin Jefferson.
When you look at C.J. Stroud, when you look at some of these other young quarterbacks that are progressing and Kenny's not, I mean, right now he looks like an Achilles heel on this team.
Yeah, why aren't teams defensively scheming to force Kenny to throw the ball? If the prime way to lose is to see what they did today. What was it, 210 yards rushing?
After
like 380 over two games, close to 700 yards total offense, 40 points. They're a running team right now. You have to force Kenny to throw those balls, but they don't. No team
but they
really
do it in the 4th quarter of games, and therein lies one of the strangest things I've ever seen. It's hard to figure out what Kenny Pickett is when you see the 4th quarter when they are down and they have to get away from the run game, Chris, and they have to throw the ball. He's been pinpoint accurate, and he's willing to do it without risk of a turnover. It seems like that doesn't cross his mind, whereas early in the games, maybe that turnover thing, which is nice for them because they are plus 10.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying.
Well, the turnovers and the turnover differential that you just mentioned is why they are 6-3, right? I mean, they've won at least 3 games on the backs of turnovers by their edge defenders, in particular with the help of a rookie corner in one game against Baltimore. So that turnover differential is very important. I'd rather see Kenny Pickett continue to play safe through 3 quarters, and then if you do have to turn it up in the 4th quarter and you do happen to get that out of them, that's great. That's all well and good. Because I don't know if it's in, like we keep saying, can you give me 4th quarter Kenny earlier in the game? I don't know if that exists at any other point in the game. I honestly don't know.
But that's by choice, isn't it? Is that sustainable, Will?
What do you mean? What do you mean by
In other
choice?
words, they're not trying to do what they do in the fourth quarter. They're
No,
doing
I
it in
think
the
they're
fourth
trying
quarter.
to
No,
score.
they're
I think
taking
trying
shots.
to score points.
When are they taking shots?
I mean, we've seen them take shots downfield early in
Not
games.
enough. Today we looked at the pass chart. Chris Hoke had it up, and it did not reveal anything other than side to side.
Right, and you can send receivers deep down the field. If the quarterback's not going to throw the ball there, then.
Okay.
And that's, to my point,
And
I think, is he's a different quarterback in the first 3 quarters than he is when the game is on the line in the fourth quarter. Maybe it's that mentality difference that you talk about.
That's what I'm trying to ask.
Fewer
Why
bodies
is it?
on the sideline too. It's less chances to throw picks. I mean, like there's a lot of danger in the middle of the field.
So you're worried about
one of the. I
risk.
think I still think yeah. And when is it okay to say that he needs to be better? When is it okay? Like it's like anytime you bring this guy's name up, and we've been talking to this guy for like 2 years. And it's the same stuff every week. It depends, depending on where you lean on Kenny, depends on where you lean on this team. I think it's okay to expect him to start to be a reason they win instead of being a reason they don't lose. And like some of these comebacks, I mean, look, when the defense is giving up 17 points, do what Cleveland did today. When Kenny does what Cleveland did today, and they got helped by a pick 6 in that comeback, then I'll be like, all right, this is fourth quarter Kenny. I mean, how hard is it? I mean, no offense, I've never done this in my life, but how hard is it if you're down 3 to get it with the eligibles that they have available to not get in field goal range? Like, he just needs to be better. Like, he needs to be better.
What you talk about winning a division, what they need? It's simple. They just need Kenny to play better. And if he's going to play better, they have a shot. They have a shot to win the division. They'll have a shot to maybe win a game in the playoffs. But if he's 130-yard Kenny, afraid to throw the ball down the field, don't turn the ball over, it's going to be much of the same we see now. Maybe they'll squeak through a game or two. Maybe they'll get in the playoffs, but they're not a championship team unless that quarterback does stuff like Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, et cetera, et cetera.
The formula right now requires too much perfection. Like, it requires Pickett not turning the ball over, the run game doing what we saw today. It requires the defense doing what it does and forcing at least 1 key turnover per week. They've got to get all of that every single week. Now, they've been lucky enough to this point that they've gotten that in all 6 of their wins, but I keep seeing the word sustainable brought up. I don't know if that's sustainable, especially once you get into, second games against teams that you've already played, like Cleveland and Baltimore. You'll play Cincinnati twice. I still question how sustainable it is. I think it's, again, enough to win 10 games and be a wild card.
How sustainable is the run game? We're going to talk about that when we come up because they're doing it every week now, 2 weeks in a row at least. And how should the division of labor go there? We'll talk about that. We'll also get into what lies ahead for the Steelers. Big games coming up this week in the AFC North. That's next right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown.